This video is going to take almost as long as watching all of my parody songs and be almost as interesting. You have been warned. I mean, you clicked on it. You can leave at any point. Go on. Go on. You can leave. You can go. Oh no, I don't need to do anything in this video. I can just leave it blank. Oh, you're still here. Okay. Let's go chronologically and we can get the most shameful out of the way. So Not A Raichu has a publishing date of late 2010, but it was quite a while before that. I initially published it on my other channel. It got a takedown notice. So I just did that classic trick of mirroring the footage and re-uploading it. I think it did have quite a good amount of views before being taken down. Maybe singing in British is a bit detrimental to this, but I mean, Ash isn't American, and I'm not going to do Japanese, so I just used my voice. It's something I always thought about the Pokemon universe. I respect its autonomy to not evolve, but you can imagine how Ash, as a trainer, would be quite frustrated about it, hence the song. The video footage is just, they call it AMVs, when it's footage from an anime, meant to somewhat line up with the content. You can tell the age of this by the MySpace link at the start, and this is the quality of Argos microphone that I could afford at the time. I think gratuitous swearing isn't really part of my fucking persona these days. That was maybe a bit artificial of me to put in. The ending in particular, I say, shut up you yellow shit, and with hesitating all the time. I think I was doing, do you remember Green Wing? Do you remember Alan Statham from Green Wing? He's a very stressed character and he kind of goes into this inarticulate rage. And I think I was trying to approximate that within the character of Ash. The way that it isn't clever is supposed to be the cleverness, I don't know. I refer to Charizard as a dragon, which, I mean, you know what I mean. Within the Pokemon universe, it maybe wasn't quite fair at the time, although Charizard has kind of slightly been revised into a canonical dragon, so yeah, I'll take it. Obviously, I chose lyrics that kind of scan with the original song. Bit of artistic license at the end there. I say a light stew, and if there's enough meat left, then a pie too. There's no way a light stew involves less meat than a pie. Let me have that one. You can kind of hear the half-whisperedness of my environment at the time, and also like shyness. At one point I'd credited this to the chance he wore hot holes. I think I recorded a demo of this against a MIDI backing back in 2007. I ended up recording the music myself for the final version, to its detriment, because karaoke backing tracks weren't yet a really viable thing online, and maybe I had pretensions of artistry. Ashes to Ashes. Now, I've really enjoyed literal videos by Dusto Magneto in the past. I know some other people made them, I can't necessarily say which ones are good, but yeah, I noticed the Ashes to Ashes video is really potent for this. One big regret with recording this, I initially lowered the backing track by 3 semitones just to make it easier to sing. I don't have much of a high range, and especially in a literal video where everything needs to be properly audibly enunciated, or the joke doesn't carry. So I recorded it 3 semitones down, and naively I thought I'd kind of just fix it with pitch shift, which you can't shift your voice 3 semitones without it sounding really ridiculous. Actually, in the mumbling background bits, I'm intentionally going too low with the timbre of his voice to kind of demonstrate that the whole thing was intended to be pitch shifted. Sometime during the creation of this, I just kind of forgot that plan and just published the lower down version. I wish I'd had another go at the high notes. My bad. The other mistake is right at the start I say the word polarized when describing the video effect solarized. Such a heavily storyboarded video full of imagery. Obviously, it fits this medium. Thing is, this video was taken down for several years. You know, a copyright strike on YouTube. In fact, it's a separate Bowie related piece, a kind of YouTube poop of the song Starman that I've called Skyman that's still down. I think it's on my Facebook. I might try and re-upload that at some point. But, and this is the levelest way to approach this situation, when Bowie died, a lot more people were Googling him. I think this video would have been a lot more of a hit if it were publicly available at the start of 2016. It was down due to the copyright strike at the time, and it's since been magically restored. So I've missed that brush with murderous fame. There's some people I'm friends with say that they have independently seen this video in the past, and then much later got to know me, and then eventually learned that I made that, which is probably as high as my star will climb. I am a bit too whispery on this one too, aren't I? That's a big lesson to learn in recording music. The confidence and the situational freedom to be loud takes a while and a lot of luck to get. I have scripted a second Bowie literal video. It's very difficult to get a karaoke track for the song in question. I might be able to construct my own, but considering that there might be a content takedown, I don't know, maybe I'll get around to it for the decade anniversary of Ashes to Ashes. Or maybe I shouldn't say that because that will let you down when I fail to do that. So the maths teacher song, this was written by my actual, now former maths teacher, based on a hit song at the time. I mean, this was a #1 song, you wouldn't believe it, it's pretty crap, but sadly not that, ooh, here she comes. But yeah, it's mostly his writing. I think I revised some of the lines. I think I let him down slightly with the rhythm in the chorus, like I slightly rearranged where the syllables go in a way that didn't match how he imagined it, and in retrospect he was probably right. I think it should have gone, says that you are a dumbass. I think I just didn't know how to do the word a or a as that kind of punched syllable. It didn't feel right when I recorded it, so I made that decision, and it was probably wrong. There's little like rap pun quips that I scripted for him to just say into the mic, and I would mix them in. The song's a bit older than the video, and obviously the video isn't much. This is mainly audio content. Considering that he doesn't have a musical background and we really didn't have much time to record this, he had a serviceable go at the chorus harmony I wrote for him. Selfies. Now, with a song with this topic, it's pretty obvious how to make the video. I got help from Alice. I did cut my hair awkwardly short like a day before making this, which is probably a bad idea. Like, make sure you're comfortable with how you look before you make something that involves how you look. That's a really primitive phone I've got there. That's the orange Rio 2, maybe? It's an obvious imitation of a BlackBerry phone. I don't know, I've never really kept up with expensive tech. That was like the 20 or 30 pound phone at the time. That is genuinely the selfie that I took during the video. I mean, it'd have to be. My parody songs don't really risk success. Maybe this one's the closest because the Divine Comedy social media accounts shared it. I don't know if that means Neil's seen it, but thanks to Alice for entertaining my ridiculous whim. Okay, you won't get much about the Phil song. It's pretty evident from the content, and it's not gonna have much of a wider audience appeal. You know when you're a teenager and you have a kind of performative crush, where you make a big self-aware deal of almost stalking someone, but it's not quite self-aware enough? Yeah, this is that with the Pizza Hut employee Phil. My friends and I, of whom I was the only boy, formed this semi-ironic fan club for Phil, called ourselves the Philketeers. It may have counted as harassment if he and his colleagues didn't enjoy it, and they did. This is basically an in-joke. I mentioned the way he walks as if gliding, had a kind of spacey demeanor. We half planned to surprise him with a performance of this at his work. That didn't come to be, so I just did it on YouTube, maybe published on his birthday. I don't know, Phil and I are on good terms, and he enjoyed this, although he wouldn't like the feeling at all. Oh yeah, evidently I rewrote the last verse because we didn't manage to sing it to him in time when he still worked at Pizza Hut. I've always been a bit uncomfortable with the term parody song because I feel the term parody implies a kind of mocking imitation of the original, whether affectionate or not, but the content would still be about the original, and I think the mainstream way that parody songs work It's more like recontextualized songs. Maybe you could say that the fact that the song has been recontextualized serves as a parody of the original because it's now about something quite trivial. But I don't know, I'm not sure these are acts of parody, more a separate genre of comedy that involves interpolating something people are familiar with. I'm pretty proud of Job Interview. I think that still works pretty well and sums up a particular thing. I don't know why I rearranged Still Into You so much into this acoustic cover that kind of could have been a sincere cover. I think at the time I was committed to not using karaoke tracks. You can see that I've given up on that since, and thereby remaking the original song. But then why imitate the original perfectly if you're not just going to use the karaoke track? So I guess that's why I got a bit reinterpretative. That bit of acting where I both say something and do something, that's really taken me to the limits of my talents. That's my bedroom at my parents' house. Not actually my proper childhood bedroom, but you can see the GameCube there. You can see the kind of what was never a new TV. I think it's just the cheapness of the camera that makes me look like I've got eyeliner on. Maybe the color scheme in general, and like the hair getting pretty close to my eyes. The lip sync can be pretty off in places. I bet I strove really hard at the time to get the lip sync properly lined up, and maybe it seemed that way when publishing it. I don't know, stuff will change in the render if you've not got a brilliant processor. But mainly, let's say it's the naivety of not having like a producer to check stuff with me. The tiny red keyboard, that little Casio toy keyboard has done way too much work for what it is. That's on my serious music. I think it is the actual sound of the keyboard that you're hearing in this song. It's lived a long life and it's served a lot of purpose. That spinning in the chair is an awesome GIF moment. Yeah, I think this communicates a very real experience of millennial unemployment, and it scans well to the original song. Cosplay. It is based on a true story, like a lot of these are basically from honest experience. I tried to fit in at fandom conventions a few times. I did try the costumes mentioned in this song, and no, that's not really honestly my scene. I was trying too hard to fit in, which the content of the song kind of reveals. The actual theme of this comes from a friend typoing Cosplay at some point. The song just grew out of that. Oh, the lip sync is really out on this one, and there was a kind of hiccup right at the start, which will be from this video compressor I was using at the time, and maybe that knocked off the lip sync, let's say that. My voice was really suffering in the summer and autumn of 2014. I had some nasty throat problem. You can hear I'm pretty hoarse and can't manage the high notes very well. Yeah, the chorus bits, I stitched that together from several takes. You can probably hear the seams a bit, and even then I don't really manage the top notes, but Chris Martin isn't a very strong singer, so maybe it's in the spirit of Coldplay. Yeah, this lip sync, I almost want to remake it and just shove the audio track a few frames earlier. That Remy wig, I did a better job of that at some point. You can see it's kind of just balanced the top of my head rather than properly attached, but it's just a moment in the song, and maybe the shoddiness can be part of the character. Feet? My feet's in a video, you don't get that often. The fetish guys are going to be all over that. Nice little melodic cameo there. The piano line plays a little jingle from Zetsubou Sensei itself. Thanks to Corny Mystic for the drawings. Despite the lyrics, some of the characters she didn't know, but she still did a good job at them. Has the lip sync gotten worse throughout? I think this was a good joke at the time, just the amount of young men cosplaying as L is just such an easily accessible costume. You possibly see some of the eyeliner get into my actual eye, because doing it competently would be against the point. I couldn't resist adding a little melody to the end of the song, because The Scientist is an awful song, and if I was going to use it, I was at least going to put something likeable into it. This would would be much higher, but yeah, I did not have the voice for it then. I mean, I still kind of don't. That's not what my voice does. Tomb Raider, you can tell from the recording setup, this is just a live take, a more throwaway idea. I was working at a popular game retailer, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to name them, but they sold games. Tomb Raider was popular, and whenever it was mentioned, I'd be singing this to myself for the rest of the day. That's a Jet Set Radio hoodie, unrelatedly. I kind of always planned for this one that I'd make an animated video, maybe re-record the song. It's below the par in like recording quality and video concept for the rest of them, and you've seen how low that par is. The video has no concept. An animator did kind of half volunteer for this at one point, but that didn't come through. I kind of thought about making the video myself with intentionally shoddy flash animation, dragging JPEGs around. Didn't get around to that. Or I could have used Tomb Raider game footage, didn't get around to that. I dislike the lighting on this one, I look pretty ill, and not the good way. And it's just a low angle that I shouldn't use. I do say in her ponytail, which is not what we say about ponytails, we say with her ponytail. I think I was being playful with grammar, like there she is in her ponytail. Maybe that would work if there weren't a separate comedic context where you're not meant to do that kind of playful grammar, because that just sounds incompetent. Whoops. Maybe I should have gone up the octave for the last bit, like Tomb Raider deceased. Gotta admit, I'm not actually a fan of Tomb Raider. I've played tiny bits, but I was never a PlayStation kid, and I was always grossed out by the objectification of Lara. I know she's simultaneously good representation, but she's simultaneously bad representation. Now, Anime Geek, I mean, that's obviously a similar theme. Maybe I was gunning for an audience then. I should probably point out that this one isn't autobiographical. I'm not really that much of an anime geek. I like Nana and Zetsubo Sensei. Maybe Welcome to the NHK. I think a lot of this was single take. I think the video's single take, and maybe the guitar and the vocals were each separately single take, and obviously it's not live vocals from the video. I keep sucking my lips in this video. I think I maybe fucked up this Evangelion joke. Because, yeah, the joke involves kind of twisting the pronunciation of Evangelion around the shape of the song, and pointing out the way that it's pronounced with a G, not a J, but the first syllable, I say E, and it's more of an E in Japanese. I think at the time of recording the song, I just felt that that was a bonus bit of the joke, implying the character isn't quite as self-aware as intended, but I think it discounts as me being less self-aware. Bit of a burn on Vic Mignogna there. I don't necessarily pick a side with sub versus dub, but a lot of dub voices are really hokey, and he's one of them, but that's far from the worst thing he's done. I have met him, I am awkward about it, I will shut up now. I think the anime culture songs show who I was hanging out with. I've been proximate to that culture, so I know how to toy with the tropes. There is another one upcoming. Usagi Drop is a really dodgy one. I mean, it's a heartwarming story, but then the end of it, look up the end of it if you want. Not that Zetsubo Sensei does much better in that regard. Maybe that hair parting was a bit ill-advised. I'm pretty insecure about my hairline, and you can see it go pretty far bad there. It is just my head shape, kinda. Anglophiles. Now this is a pretty premeditated one. So the album 1989 was a big hit, and the first two singles from it, Shake It Off and Blank Space, went straight to #1. I either saw it mentioned that Style was going to be the next single, or I just figured that's obviously going to be a single and it's obviously going to get to #1, so let's get in quickly with the first parody song of it and make it kind of a bit Taylor Swift themed, as she is an Anglophile. Anglophile, and that's kind of relevant to the original lyrics. So maybe a bit cynically planned, maybe I was chasing success with this one. Maybe I got what I deserved when Style was kind of a flop somehow. I mean, it's a brilliant song. The other singles from that album still did well, like Wildest Dreams, despite being a Lana Del Rey ripoff. I mean, it is pretty nice, but that did well. Bad Blood is really incompetent, but that did well. So I've basically done a Taylor Swift album track. Bold of me to bring up The Mighty Bush, because I get a lot of Noel Fielding comparisons, because I have a jawline. I think my hair's a bit off in this one. I mean, it's been a bit off in the other ones, but it looks pretty dry and solid, doesn't it? I was still stuck on laptop-mounted webcams at the time, which were actually better than the contemporary laptop-mounted webcams, but not brilliant. Same old concept visually on this one, you know, I'm sat in the same room, and instead of the illustrations, I've just got JPEGs. I mean, all those references, I think the best way to do them is just show the originals. To hell with copyright. I've got a pretty bad habit with barcodes. You can see my thumb is trying to compensate on the bass strings, and it's basically a fret off. I never claimed to be good at guitar. Maybe take a sip every time I suck on my lips. I mean, you would suck on my lips, wouldn't you? This could be a moment that I could get cancelled for. In the same song that I say that Anglophiles are 17-year-old girls, I also say that they're the only chance I have of getting laid. Maybe no one's noticed that's dodgy until I just said that. I never said I'm pursuing that chance. Maybe I come across as pretty judgmental to fanfic there. I don't know, you've not met my exes. Or have you? The on-screen fanfic is my own, so it's gonna be a shoddy imitation. Americans are so much more into Monty Python than we are. Is this the first one I've got to where it legitimately has a chorus and I don't sing a different bit at each chorus? It might be, but the kind of striding pace and the slight musical quality to it might justify it. I do think I've got a potent concept with this song, and it combines well with the original. I always try and be like assonant to the original lyrics. A lot of the time I put into parody songs, it was when I just lost the chutzpah of writing and recording my own music and still had a musical instinct but no talent. And what do? You do parody songs. You can hear me say like what quite right in the background. I swear that's based on something I thought I heard in the original Taylor Swift track, and I heard it, so I imitated it. I have since arguably got that mojo back, so, you know, I'd still embarrass myself in the traditional ways. Putting yourself out there on YouTube is such potential for cringe. Obviously, I'm trying to be funny, and if it's taken in the wrong context, or if I just fail to be funny, then it's laughable in the worst way. It takes a bit of bravery to make that risk, but whatever, this content is public. Even this commentary is public. Think how cringe this is. But, you know, no budget, no friends in most cases. It's just me throwing shit together. If you happen to enjoy it, then cool. There's maybe a bit less comedic power in this one. I'm kind of just listing things. But maybe it's more musically potent. Anglophiles themselves were often my best friends online as a kid, but there's also a worrying obsessive streak, and I hope I covered both sides. I think I kind of found my groove with pedagogic songs. Like, I have a kind of know-it-all vibe. Maybe it's the power in my voice. A know-it-all vibe suits content where I do know it all, or where it's funny that I would believe I know it all. The Strawman song is an example of that, because it explains the term. I came up with this parody ages before when I first learned the term Strawman, and thus, you know, sang it to myself and entertained others with the chorus of it at least, and eventually extrapolated that into an actual parody song that basically explains it. I mean, I take slight liberties and I cross over into ad hominem at some point. I have found another person on YouTube following the same concept. I don't know if it's still up. She was trying to criticize social justice warriors, and it's really embarrassing stuff. It's one of those parody songs where it mostly sticks to the original lyrics and then just changes a few little things. I wasn't necessarily picking a side with mine, I was just pointing out the fallacious debate tactic. But actually, it did become a bit politically relevant because at some point someone who's made their name opposing social justice warriors posted a link to this song, or at least I was aware that they'd watched it. It's someone called Protein Pill. It was around the time of Gamergate, you know, there was lots of bad faith arguments being made online in kind of geek culture, in culture near to the stuff that I've described in my parody songs. I felt awkward entertaining someone so nasty, and I thought I should probably be a bit more open in my content about my political allegiances, which is like with not oppressors. Not much concept to this video, it just explains. Maybe I'm singing this one quite softly too, but I think it's actually consistent with the vibe this time. I guess Bowie is the first repeat artist, and I guess that's no surprise. I think I'm out of practice on guitar these days. This is better work than I can probably manage now. My wrists hurt a lot, and to be honest, I can't keep guitars in tune these days. Maybe that says more about me. Lipsuck, How Tsun Is Now is like a classic example of my pedagogic songs. It's basically a dictionary definition. It might be better than a dictionary definition of tsundere. That red highlight in my hair didn't last long. I had it in my head at the time that tsunderes go, like they kind of hum and jerk their head in the other direction, and I thought I could incorporate that into the song as the kind of passing car guitar bit. I'm not sure the effect really carried for that one. I think it's pretty obvious how songwriting tends to come to me, both sincere songwriting and parody songs. The hook comes first. So the idea for this one is just how funny that first line is, so I have to extrapolate the rest of it. And for Strawman, it's just how obvious that chorus is. For Job Interview, it's that it scans the same way as Into You. I think that obviousness is often at the core of my parody songs, and maybe the whole things are obvious anyway. It was just the thing to do whilst I wasn't coming up with songs, or at least whilst I was coming up with parody songs. I think I initially did a take where I properly tried a Morrissey voice, you know. I am the sun, I'll shut you out! But obviously found that muddied the lyrics a bit, so the final thing is a bit of a compromise half impression. Maybe that just seems like I'm not good at the impression, I don't know. It is a bit painful to see that I used to be in better shape and have clearer facial skin. Some moments in this video where I look like I've got nothing to do with my hands. I don't know, there wasn't that much concept to this one. I can't do much without, like, making friends or something. I have sincerely used breathing as percussion on a couple of my own songs. Expert manspreading there. Millennials. I think my thighs look a bit awkward in those corduroys. I had been struggling for years with sound tech, particularly getting a clean vocal take. It distorted so easily, and I think that's most evident on this one, the badly recorded parody. Again, maybe I didn't have enough material to illustrate this one. I didn't want to just show what I say every time. You can tell I mostly whispered this one into the microphone at night at my parents' house. Yeah, this is my parents' place. That's my music tech degree certificate. I probably shouldn't give away too much about this. I really take no pride in that. I might tear it up at some point. And my student debt, and I'm pretty sure I'll tear that up. Maybe in my examples of memes, including Pepe, was a bit of a bad move. I don't know. I was intentionally doing a bad move because that's a millennial thing, but maybe the tone doesn't carry enough. I've not kept that dress. I'm not really comfortable without long sleeves. Could this be the most obvious song parody concept ever? I seem unashamed of pursuing those. I at least check if someone else has done it first, then it's mine if they've not, and I'd better be quick. More Pokemon stuff. Yeah, it's set within the same fictional world. I know there's those bands that do like all Harry Potter stuff and all Mega Man stuff. I've not quite committed to the one world, but it was a friend of mine who came up with the seed for this song, which is obviously that hash pipe is assonant with the phrase grass type. So you can make that Weezer song into a Pokemon song. Chris came up with this at some point and said I could have it. I encouraged him to write his own lyrics and record it. I think he did write a full lyric set, but just never got around to recording it, and I gave him like a year and then said, well, you're not doing it, are you? So I will. This is the garden at my parents' place, just for a bit of variety and nice autumn light. I guess I don't have anything green to wear. Here's another one where I definitely had to change the pitch. Yeah, I can't do the high notes in the Weezer song. You don't want to hear me try that. When I say when I choose a starter, it's the one that is green, I was very tempted to put a shiny Totodile amongst those, because that is also kind of green, like teal. I didn't go for it in the end because of the overall concept of just using grass types. I know my videos have a lot of the same technique, you know, clearly I did basically entire takes in different poses, like with the guitar, with the bass, without, and then I just fade between them with whichever take is best or most relevant at that moment. Considering that I've got no one behind the camera, it's a pretty robust setup, you know, it kind of works. I think it's a fun one within Pokemon culture because grass just isn't as impressive as fire or water. I think thereby it's the least popular of the starter types in most cases. It's got some uses, but there are other types that can often do better. So I was trying to defend the grass type. This song shows my brief brush with competence, largely due to having a bit of help with the video. Helen and Jamie at Stafford Library helped me film this. It was pretty tightly storyboarded because we basically had 1 hour after closing at Stafford Library. Well, at least I thought we had 1 hour after closing, but it turned out that Jamie hadn't informed the cleaners at all. He just told me, yeah, I'm sure we could hang around for an hour afterwards, and toward the end of filming, we noticed the cleaners just sitting around waiting for us to complete it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry on his behalf, but also, if he didn't do that cheat, we might not have got this. I do work at a public library myself. I'm sure you could figure out which one without much investigation. If you're watching a video of this girth within the Sunday Magic universe, you probably know. I like throwing props off screen. I just think that's inherently funny. I wish I'd shaved a bit more carefully. I'm really insecure about facial hair, and you can see it a little bit there. That bit there with returning the books on time was not in my original storyboard. That was Jamie's idea, and it is the funniest bit of the video. I like the chaos of it and the implication that that's a satisfactory way to return the books, and it just literalizes the silly idea that you can just about return books on time in the measure of seconds within a day rather than days within a 3-week period. It alludes to my grudge against genealogy. At a public library, a lot of people are interested in genealogy as if it makes them more interesting people. There's Helen with a tag coming out the back of her clothing. I didn't come up with anything for her to do here. The joke was that she'd just have Google open because that's all you need to do as a librarian, so at least that's visible, but she's just obediently sitting there. Thank you. You can see how heavy that book is when I pick it up. I can't guarantee that there's still the occasional video cassette, but maybe somewhere in the world. Bookshops couldn't compete. I thought for that line I may as well say it at a different location outside a famous bookshop. And the only one that came to mind, because this is how cultured I am, is one from Black Books, the TV show. And I just happened to have a London trip lined up. I mean, London is terrifying and expensive, and I don't belong there at all. But I just happened to be going there. That sounds so jet-setter, doesn't it? It just lined up. And yeah, behind the camera, there's Alice from the other video and Monica. And I just did this one without a backing track because it's just one line. Bit of a continuity error because I am wearing different trousers in the London bit. You can tell how recently I've encountered a mirror by how much my hairline is covered up. Obviously, I faked the evening and morning thing in post. I think it's evident enough what I meant to do that you can forgive it a bit. That very last take, I'm trying to do a Donald Glover thing, you know, the video Freaks and Geeks, because I noticed the 3 fiction things behind me kind of resembled his 3 like warehouse doors. I was maybe a bit too self-conscious, and there's not really any point to that reference. Still, that might be the most accomplished parody song because I actually had someone behind the camera, so thanks again to them. in different takes, I'm sure I would like initially have more inhibitions, and then later just be more tired and more like stumbling over what used to be easy. So it's finding that sweet spot. Black Friday is one I kept in the bank for ages. I must have come up with this when having the actual retail experience of working a UK Black Friday, which is now a thing, which was November 2014. I wrote and recorded the song, but then it was too late for that Black Friday. I thought I'd get around to it for the next one. I think the audio was public for ages, but I wasn't even ready for the video in November 2015 until I came up with this noirish thing with some incompetent scribbles and published it in 2016. I wasted a lot of that time hoping I could borrow a shop and extras to act out the video. No, I'm not that big a deal. I think the noir effect actually complements the webcam quality. That's rare of me to just sincerely use a cliche. I've not actually subverted anything there. I'm just saying the only bird catches the worm. It is a principle of Black Friday. Portraying myself as a cop is a risky move, but it's just me not being bothered to draw a different face. It's bold of me to joke about Atrophy Wife being a dead project in 2016 when it's still a not yet resolved project. I do intend to get back to that. Again, this song just explains what the thing is in a way that I'm hoping is amusing and that kind of matches well to the original lyrics in sound form.